Hey gang, Eric Shanfelt here with Nearview Media, and welcome to this week's High Value Publishing session. Pretty excited about this one here. We're going to dive into the realm of news aggregators. You're probably familiar with Google News, maybe Apple News, but there's a couple of other news aggregators that are really coming on strong, and today we're going to focus on SmartNews. SmartNews has really gained traction the last couple of years, has a lot of users. I think you'd be surprised at some of the statistics we're going to go over. But there's some things that you as publishers need to know before you do business with SmartNews. It's pretty important that we talk about this. They don't hide anything per se, but they don't make a lot of things very obvious, the implications of working with SmartNews. So I want to make sure, kind of pull back the covers a bit on SmartNews and let you know as publishers the important things that you need to keep in mind as you consider working with SmartNews and maybe using them as part of your overall content distribution strategy. Before we begin, as always, I want to go through some of our housekeeping items. All of these high-value publishing sessions are available on the Nearview Media website. If you just go to highvaluepublishing.com, it will redirect to the proper section on the Nearview Media website. It's just a redirect. So go check all the previous sessions. Any links we talk about today will be available with each session. And to be honest, this session is going to have a lot of links. So make sure you go out to highvaluepublishing.com, look up this session, and get access to all of those links. This is also available as a podcast on Apple, Google, Spotify, etc. So if you want to follow us that way, feel free to. And then finally, go to our website. Make sure you sign up for our email newsletter so you never miss one of these episodes. I usually do one email a week max, and most of the time they are these kinds of training sessions for publishers. So go check us out. Let's dive on in. Let's talk about SmartNews and what SmartNews is. So SmartNews is a news aggregator. Probably the one you're most familiar with is Google News. Google News is also a news aggregator. Apple News is also a news aggregator. But SmartNews is another news aggregator. Another very popular one coming out right now is Newsbreak. We're going to focus on SmartNews for today. And they really like to focus on local news. So any of you who are local news publishers, CRMA, city and regional magazine publishers, parenting media magazines, perhaps other news sites, radio or TV news sites, or even regional business publishers, AABP type publications. This is especially important for you, although I have seen national level publications in here too, a lot of those. So this is a lot like Apple News, Newsbreak, Google News. One of the big differences that we'll get into here, though, is that whereas Google News, it's simply just a conduit, right? It delivers the news, but then when you click the story, it takes you actually to the publisher's website, and the publisher gets the traffic and the publisher gets to monetize with their own ad systems. SmartNews doesn't really do that. We'll dive in. What SmartNews does is it ingests your content and then presents it in what they call the smart format on the SmartNews app. As we'll talk about here in a little bit, the smart format may be really smart for SmartNews. I don't think it's so smart for us as publishers. We'll talk about what that means here in just a little bit. However, I do think it's important that SmartNews is on your radar. They are actually the #2 news app on Android. If you take a look at this, this was from SimilarWeb on app downloads, app usage. So you can see the usage rank over here. Newsbreak is actually #1. SmartNews is #2. Google News is #3. This was really surprising. I knew that Google had was getting some pressure, but to see that Newsbreak and SmartNews are now being used more on Android than Google News was a little surprising. Now, take this with a bit of a grain of salt. This is from SimilarWeb. It's their data. I've got the URL there. Nonetheless, I think it's just very interesting to know that it's in that kind of news aggregator. These are folks you want to pay attention to, along with Google News. Of course, Apple News isn't available on Android, so it's not on this list. If we look on iOS, well, SmartNews falls a lot further down the pike. Now, you got to take these with a little bit, this data also with a grain of salt. If you were to look at the ones above, the way that Google puts its app rankings, it's anything that's a news site. So like Wall Street Journal, New York Times, right? Those are all going to rank way above any of these aggregators as far as usage. However, with the aggregators, what I thought was really important is SmartNews is right there with Google News, not far away. And if you notice in this, Google News is trending down, SmartNews is trending up. Same thing here on the overall store rank, right? SmartNews is trending up, Google News is trending down. So I think it's very important that we as publishers pay attention to these apps like Newsbreak, like SmartNews here. So this is why this is the who cares test, because this is an important content distribution channel and news aggregator that's being used by a lot of people. I do want to also point out one thing though here. So SmartNews is very smart, obviously, about this, but they used to do everything pretty much in a programmatic way. They were bringing in programmatic advertising to fill out their ad inventory. But just last fall, they launched their own U.S. ad business. SmartNews is now going to be competing with us as publishers for ad dollars, just like Facebook, just like Google, just like Apple, just like anything else. We're facing yet another competitive situation here with SmartNews. So just be aware of this as a publisher. You want to work smartly with these news aggregators. Again, I'm a huge fan of Google News, mostly because in Google News, Google's not monetizing over top of our content. They're actually going and directing the traffic directly to our websites. And we can monetize there however we want to monetize, with our own inventory, with our own programmatic, which may include Google AdSense as well. But with SmartNews, they take our content into their app and then they're monetizing it. And when you see the monetization, I think you're going to be maybe surprised, maybe not surprised, but your radar should definitely be going up. And now they're really heavily launching into their own ad network because they've reached enough volume that they can now sell direct to advertisers. So be aware, this is another kind of co-opetition situation for us as publishers, and we better go in with our eyes wide open. So what do I mean by that? So this is straight from their media kit. And I'll put the URL to this when we post this session online. But this is straight from their media kit, and you can see here's their standard ads. They got an ad here at the top, an ad kind of down at the bottom. There's premium ads. So as you navigate throughout the app, you may also get certain ads that show up. But like these are where the ads show, and I'll show you exactly where these ads appear. But these are basically SmartNews selling these ads over top of your content that they've ingested into their app. The key thing to think about here, they have what they call the smart format, right? So it's a version of RSS from your site that is designed to work within the SmartNews app underneath what's called the smart format. It's a special RSS feed. I'll show you a little bit more about this. If you're on WordPress, there's actually a plugin, that's what I've got here, that you can download and install on your website. If you're not on WordPress, they have a specification that you can also access and create the smart format feed for SmartNews. But so if you're on WordPress, which most publishers are these days, this is really easy for you to implement. I do want to point out, though, that when you implement the smart format, this is how the content is formatted. So, and I'll show you a live example of this here in a second here. But if you take a look at this, this is the headline, feature story, ad. What they're going to share. This is what they pitch to publishers, right? They pitch to publishers, hey, this is your logo. It links to your homepage. Nice. Hey, down at the bottom, here's a link to your mobile website, and then there's a link to the publisher channel. You can add up to 2 sponsored links. There's recommended links. In other words, you might also be interested in these stories, and up to 3 of these can be from you as a publisher. And there's this publisher ad tag, right? So it's making it look like this is really not too bad. I mean, we're not too thrilled, but you notice they don't point out where SmartNews inserts their ads. So I'm going to switch over to the actual website itself. Hang on one second here. And let me show you here. So here's the actual SmartNews app, right? So this is the actual SmartNews app. I'm going to, let's see here. I think I'm going to go into this one here on Politico. So again, this is the SmartNews format, right? Here's all of this stuff. But then as we scroll down, let me get back into the Politico again here because the ad didn't load. There we go. So as we're scrolling down though, this is content that they've ingested from Politico's smart feed into our smart format feed into SmartNews. So it's got the headline, the bylines, the featured image, and then there's this ad. Now, here's how you can tell if it's a SmartNews ad or something that Politico sold. This is a SmartNews ad. If you click on little 3 links there, you can see request to hide this ad. Hey, due to technical constraints, this ad may continue in your feed. That's because it's a SmartNews ad. So SmartNews ad, more content. Oh, another SmartNews ad, more content. Here is what they said. Hey, a link to your topic. Oh, but we're not only just going to put a link to your site, we're also going to encourage you to follow foreign policy, Nikki Haley, and U.S. politics in the SmartNews app, whether or not it has anything to do with Politico. So again, while this is nice, they're cross-referencing it here. Read this on the web does link to your mobile website, but nobody clicks on it because they've already read it. It's already in the SmartNews app. Why would they read it? And then another ad from SmartNews. So far, all of this, SmartNews ad, SmartNews ad, SmartNews ad. Then we get into some of the links, right? So here's some recommended links that they talked about. Oh yeah, we can do 3 recommended links. And then here is the publisher ad right here at the very bottom of the page underneath everything. I'm not too happy with this. I actually talked with SmartNews a while back and said, hey, I'm not really happy with this as a publisher. And they're like, well, that's just the way it is. And our folks seem to be happy. I think most publishers don't even understand that this is what's going on. If we go to Mirror Online, here's another one that's in the SmartNews. Again, headline, byline, content, SmartNews ad, content, SmartNews ad, content. Now, these are embedded into their actual RSS feed from the Mirror. SmartNews ad, right? And then here's the follow Mirror Online. Oh, but you should also follow these so we can serve you up content that has nothing to do with Mirror Online. Okay. SmartNews ad. Here's recommended. Okay. Mirror gets 3, but then they're also going to promote some other stories that aren't related to you. And then finally, here is your ad as the publisher. Way down here, the very last thing. So I'm not too thrilled about this as a publisher. Now, I will throw this out. If you are big enough, and by this I mean you have to have millions of page views per month, you can get big enough where you can enter into a bit of a rev share agreement where some of this revenue from here will flow back to you. It's a relatively small percentage, all things considered. And it is, again, it's disintermediating you as a publisher. You're now just a supplier of content. They're the ones doing the ad sales. They're the ones generating the revenue and having the relationships with the advertisers. So just some things to think about. You can see there's some direct sold ads. There's also some, you can tell that this is a programmatic ad that they've inserted in here. And you can see they have that's from Google AdWords, Google AdSense, not your Google AdSense account, SmartNews's Google AdSense account. So I want to make sure that you're really aware of what's going on. I do want to make you aware, though, that if you don't use the SmartNews app, you can still show up in SmartNews. SmartNews still goes out and they find other content that's out there. So for instance, if I go in this WRAL from Raleigh, North Carolina, and I open this, you see this little smart view? Failed to load content. Let's refresh. Oh, wow, that's just lame. It was loading earlier, but I can switch over to the smart view, and now it's going to load it into the smart view. This is a program they used to offer where they would actually load your website. Oh, there you go. So there's a WRAL website. You can't ask for this anymore. If you go through their publisher program, through SmartNews' publisher program, you can no longer do this. They will only accept new publishers in the SmartNews, unless you're big enough or part of a large enough conglomerate that you may be able to negotiate this. But most independent publishers, regional publishers, not going to be able to do this. So this, if SmartNews did this and they defaulted to the web view and allowed, this is the actual mobile version of the WRAL news website. All these ads are served up by WRAL. I'm happy with that. I am really happy with that as a publisher, because I'm now this ad down here, this is SmartNews. I'm totally cool with that, but I'm still monetizing this, and this is actually a page view on my website. I'm happy with that. But the smart view, again, I'm not happy with the way this content looks as a publisher, right? There's another SmartNews ad. My ad doesn't show up until down here at the very bottom of this. So I want to make sure you are keenly aware of that. I'm going to go back into my deck here. And as you'll see, again, for publishers, they say, oh, look at all the benefits you get. Publisher logo, link to your mobile page. You get to add your publisher channel. Oh, by the way, we're also going to promote other channels and other topics, but they don't tell you that here. Support for up to 2 sponsored links. Awesome. Oh, by the way, we're going to stick our ad here, 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 and here. We're not going to tell you about that in this layout. And, oh, your publisher ad tag's going to go down here at the very bottom. Just don't like that. Just don't like that. If you do install the plugin, one more thing I want to just point out to you. They have a place in the plugin or in the specification, if you're going to develop your own smart feed for SmartNews, where you can plug in Google Analytics code, or really any analytics code that you want. This is where your ad code goes, and this is where your sponsored links can go. And this can be from your ad server. But this analytics code is actually a problem. And here's why I have a problem with that. I was working with one publisher, and they were all excited. They were all excited because they started to work with SmartNews at the beginning of July 2021, so a couple years ago. And they were really excited about this. And we started looking at it. I'm going, well, yeah, but our ad impressions aren't going up, and other numbers just aren't making sense. What's going on here? I mean, at one point, we were generating, 45,000 users per month. Now, this is a big site, multi-millions of page views. But they were generating, 45,000 users in the month of October. When we got down to it, we figured out what was happening. The Google Analytics tag was firing in the SmartNews app. So every time someone would read one of this publisher's articles in the SmartNews app, in the smart format, which again isn't a page view on their website and doesn't really have any ad impressions other than that one little ad impression at the bottom, these guys were calling it a page view. And SmartNews was telling them, look how much traffic we're generating for you. Look at all the traffic to your website. No, this was not traffic on your website. Not at all. This was tracking views of your content on SmartNews, not on your website. They're ingesting your content, and every time their article was viewed on that site, viewed on that app, it was counting it as a page view for their website. So I found that to be, I don't want to say maybe misleading. I don't know that it was intentionally deceptive, but it's definitely misleading because it makes it look like, look how much traffic we're generating to your website. Now, this was not just referrals from the links. They were actually counting the page views that were being, the article views that were being delivered in the app. Again, not my site actually serving up any content. Like if Google News links through to my content, it's actually going to my website and loading a page of my website. Okay, legit traffic. I'm happy with that. If SmartNews is doing it though, it's loading my content into their app and counting it as a page view on my website. Don't like that. Plus, I'm not monetizing it. So it's throwing all of our metrics off. So we actually wound up shutting off SmartNews in November for this very reason. So just a little note on how SmartNews works with the analytics tag. Be very aware. If you want to do this, and it's okay, if you want to do this, you need to do it the right way though. If you are going to do this and you are going to work with SmartNews, which is totally fine, just be aware of these issues. And I would recommend a completely separate Google Analytics property for SmartNews. That way, you're isolating what's happening with SmartNews from your website. Because these are going, why is our website traffic growing so much? And we're like, it's not. Your website traffic is actually declining. Instead, all your traffic's being siphoned off into SmartNews rather than going to your website. So just a heads up, no problems if you want to do it, but if you're going to do it, I would have a separate Google Analytics property specifically for SmartNews. That's really it, guys. I don't want to come this across like I dislike SmartNews. I don't. I think they're actually a very smart news aggregator. However, I want us as publishers, especially independent publishers or niche publishers, whether you're a city and regional magazine or a regional publication or a niche publication serving, a particular hobby or personal interest, passion, whether you're a B2B trade journal, even if you're a newspaper, be really smart about working with SmartNews. Just understand what it is that they do, how they do it, and what the caveats are. Most niche publishers are not going to be big enough to negotiate a good agreement with them on a rev share basis. So just be aware of these issues, decide whether it makes sense for you or not. Otherwise, we'll probably talk about Newsbreak in a future session here. We've already talked about Google News. I should go back and revisit that sometime. Be aware. There's a lot of stuff happening in the media space. Anyway, I hope you found this helpful, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the week.